Hi folks, welcome back to X-Bit Gits, another episode of what I'm thinking of calling Bits in Pieces. So I'll say in advance, I'm trying to slowly upgrade my gear. By that I mean I've got a camera it's a cheapie. It was like less than 200 Australian dollars for a 4K sensor, and there's some things I've already discovered I don't like. Anyhow, what we're going to try and do today is not actually anything much with this Saturn. This is here as a piece of diagnostic equipment. What we're trying to do is take a look inside and possibly repair this Sega Saturn Mission Stick, HSS-0114. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a visual monitor to what I'm doing here, so we're just going to have to hope that everything stays in shot. This I received as an import. This is Japanese made. I received it, oh geez, I've had it for a couple of months now. Initially, well, I think it's cool. It feels like a good joystick. But I was hoping it might improve my ability to play Sega Ages Afterburner 2 on the Saturn, because I suck at that. Then again, I don't have much history with that game. I mentioned the Saturn here. This is also custom painted, by the way. This was a Japanese Model 1 grey until I changed that. So the Saturn, combined with Virtua Fighter 2, is going to be our indicator as to what buttons are working and what's not. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. Okay, so we're back. Now it's time to have a look inside this thing. Oh, interesting thing to note with the Mission Stick, you can actually remove, we're going to need to do this anyway I think, but you can actually change which side I haven't tried this before, you can change which side put it on this side if we like. Which is awesome. That's awesome. Now, there is main control and sub control. Look, I looked into it briefly. There is the ability to add another stick to each side of this. No, it's not compatible with the twin stick controller that you might use for Cyber Virtual On. It's weird. I don't remember, but I think there's like 1 or 2 games mentioned in my research that actually support that configuration. So we don't need to worry about that. But it is a curious oddity of this device, and people are going to be, what's that about? Because I sure as heck was. Now, before we go into opening this up, I have a suspicion. Because B and C aren't working on either the deck or the stick, I'm wondering if it might actually be an issue of transmitting those out. So it's common rather than, oh, this is busted and this happens to be busted in such a way where it just so happens that B and C are the dead buttons. So what I'm going to try is we'll actually try opening up the deck first. It's probably going to be a little easier. Okay, I've got my old faithful $2 screwdriver. Let's get into these main screws. So it feels like there's definitely 4 at the front here. Didn't feel like there were any under this sticker. As for whether there's any under these rubberized feet, I guess we'll find out. Our recording setup's so janky. Okay. So that's... Oh, hang on. No, that doesn't feel big enough to be a screw head. I do wonder... Aha, okay. There are screw heads under these top 2 at least. Given I'm not going to go removing those because I'm going to assume their proximity to existing screw holes means they don't have screws under them. Of Could be wrong. It happens. All right. Okay, yeah, this is about what I expected, really. Fairly straightforward shell to hold the circuit board, and that's about it. And it looks like we've got 3 screws, 2 on these little D-sub connectors that are actually smaller. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Made in China, 1995. I noticed on genuine pads, standard control pads that I import from Japan, there seemed to be a period where they started making them in China as well as rather than just Japan or Taiwan. Okay, so this is for the speed, start. These are our rapid fire enable slider switches. That glob is interesting. Very hard glue with what looks like a bunch of capacitors and actual So immediately nothing's necessarily jumping out at me on this. So this piece here looks like it would have had a crystal on it at some point, or optional crystal. Y1 is not populated there. I'm sitting at one of my desktop PCs. I'll just see if I can Google this Motorola part chip. See if we can find anything useful about that. Now, part of what we should make sure we eliminate is the possibility that it is actually a connecting wire that's dead. Now, I'm not sure off the top of my head about the electrical protocol for Saturn controllers. I think I've read somewhere that they're similar to Mega Drive. Maybe they're not. The reason I bring that up is I know with, like, say, a Mega Drive controller, if the A button and the B button are not functional, then it could possibly be the actual connecting line to the console because they share one. And it's alternated by a multiplexing selector pin. Saturn is probably going to be very similar. What I'm going to do is just got the digital multimeter here in, well, you can see that. It'd probably be better flat. We're in continuity mode. Okay. Now, the pins inside these are fairly easy to get to. So I'm just going to try. I just need it to stop folding around. Okay. Okay. This is quite frustrating. I need to be able to hold I wonder, can I get in the top there? Okay, one is connected. Two. So the order they run along this connector doesn't appear to line up across here. So for instance, the farmost on the right there, the white one, is the farmost here, but then the black one next to it is around here. Okay, but that's 2 out of 3 continuity-wise. Three. Four. Five. Six. Seven. Eight. Nine. Okay. So we've at least proven that all the connectors in here are intact. We have continuity on all 9 of them. Well, that's good to know. I mean, if we were missing one, that would have been great in one way, because I've got spare controller cables, and we could have just replaced it. So, I'm wondering what's next. Okay, what we might try now, let me just move this off to the side somewhere where it can be forgotten until I spill it over. Let's just try. I will bring the Saturn console back. I want to see if we can just directly bridge the buttons on the controller circuit board and have that result in a button press, because then it might just be a clean. So here we can see that B and C are reacting as we expect. That standard controller plugged in. Let's try now. No. So shorting it across. That's interesting. Well, let's get an actual button then. Interesting. This appears to not actually be responding. Now, I do wonder if that means that the stick needs to be plugged in. To complete the circuit for it to actually function. I'm guessing here, but it's not unreasonable. So does X pick up like it should? Now, interestingly, nothing appears to be working. It's also quite possible I've plugged the stick into the incorrect port. Ah, yeah, okay, so the stick is responding now. So, interesting. That I'm starting to wonder now if there is actually an issue here at all. This is because now it wasn't even responding to the X button or the B button or the Y button. Although, part of me is wondering if that's because of the little slider switches for the rapid fire select circuits. So, if that's the case, we want to press right. A's not working. Let's just use another rubber pad. Okay, so let's try A. Okay. So that's why our buttons weren't working like this, is we need to close the circuit around the rapid fire enable select switches at the top here. So now then, that should mean, but start doesn't have that issue because it does, well, there's no rapid fire on start. Okay, so we're in edit mode. And what I want to see is, let's just pick SX because that theoretically should work. Okay, so button X is working. All right, well, let's try B and C. So I've bridged the rapid fire select for B, and well, that's very good. I am starting to think that this sucker might just need a clean. Okay, so this video might be a bit of a mess, but I didn't exactly plan it. But what do we have so far? We've proven that initially the B and C buttons weren't functional with this clunky method of using Virtua Fighter 2. Opening it up, we were then able to manually trigger the buttons once we worked out that the buttons weren't working initially because we weren't bridging these. I'm not sure how well you can see that. So this here is obviously common path, and that would go to the, well, that would switch between 1 and 2 for the rapid fire enable or not. And I'm guessing that the button path circuit itself does go through that switch. So it's not a separate switch. So that's why that needs to be closed in some form before our manual test with the B buttons could work. So like right now, we want to see the B select in game. Nope, that's not happening. Okay, I've just realized that I haven't re-recorded the console output, but basically what I've been trying to say is we need to bridge the rapid fire before the button will actually be registered at all. Now, what I'm expecting then is, with a good clean, this might just come good. Now, I've just had a brainwave. Remember how I said that there's a shared fault between them, because otherwise why is it the exact same buttons on the stick that aren't working as on the deck? I do wonder if these B and C buttons need to actually go through the rapid fire as well. So what I'm trying to get to is, I wonder if it's actually the rapid fire selector switches which were dirty, which were meaning no B or C button would be registered by the system. I think that's, if that is the case, we should be able to bridge the rapid fire for B, press B on the stick while we have B selected in the game for output. So we'll choose C. So if we bridge the rapid fire on C like we did earlier, manually, with one of the button pads that we know works. I pulled these button pads from L and R earlier. So now that we've done that, does C function? No, but that's also because I forgot to plug this back in. Geez, I'm really excited, guys. This might actually work. There it is. Okay, so I think our problem with the B and C buttons all along has been dirty rapid fire select buttons. Okay, let's have a look at, they look a little dirty. They don't really look much worse than anything else. One moment while I get some isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so we're back. Got some isopropyl alcohol. But what I'm really going to do for these, because the contact pads are actually metallic, I've got some 1200 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to give them a bit of a very gentle scrape across the top of the ends of the pads. And I may as well do this for all of them. I mean, if two have failed, oh goodness. Thankfully, these button nibs all look identical, except for the speed one, because it's multi-position. So let's just pull all these out. And yeah, I'll just give them a quick scrub down like that. Okay. So I guess maybe just a thin oxide layer, doesn't take much. But something like that's probably built up. I guess if this is going to work, the best game to test it on might be the game I bought it for, Afterburner 2, which I do have a, well, it's Japanese, but I do have a physical copy of it. I've done this fantastic thing where I haven't really used my workbench much for a month or two. And a lot of things I take for granted aren't around, like Q-tips or cotton tips. I just want to give them a quick going over. I should probably be careful not to put these straight back down on my painted satin, because the paint, a little bit's not going to hurt it, but it's paint, IPA's a solvent. It might actually damage it. Okay, so we'll get the console out of the way again. Move it off to the side. Okay, for today, I'm not necessarily going to worry about cleaning this down. Mostly because I want to wrap this up and see if I've actually fixed it properly. By cleaning it, I mean the outer shell. It could use a clean, but it's also not the worst I've seen. As with much of the Sega stuff, it's keyed, so it's really hard to screw it up on reassembly. Something like this notches on one edge, but that also means that we're not going to accidentally have the conductive fingers facing the wrong way and not actually contacting with where they need to. Oh dear. I have just discovered something I hope isn't going to bite me. There's 2 rows of these, and I think the bottom rows are actually longer. Ooh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, well, we'll find out. Okay, so now we'll put what goes next? The main circuit board goes on. I'm not really worried about cleaning those pads. I mean, I think the corrosion was probably just going to happen anyway. A bit more likely than any other issues. I just want to get this reassembled so we're not going to accidentally lose any parts. Okay, so let's put this. Okay, right, the 2 silver screws on the side here. Go back in. Off until they click. Okay, it's not really working. Okay. So nothing terribly exciting. Oh, okay. This. Ah, very good. Okay, so we've got 6 screws for the case and 2 feet to put back on. Not a worry. I've seen some channels doing sort of like console repairs and such. They use electric screwdrivers. It's probably fine, really, but I prefer to be able to feel what's happening with the screw, just in case I sort of, I don't know, it threads the wrong way, or I don't know. It just feels like with a high-speed rotary tool or rotational tool to assist you, if something goes wrong, the degree to which that becomes a problem rapidly escalates. Whereas at least with a screwdriver, there's a bit more feedback involved. I'm also highly likely that I'm just overthinking that and it's really a non-issue. And before I tighten all the screws up, it would have been a smart idea to see if my cleaning efforts have really done the trick. I'm fairly confident they have. And do. Now, We might open this up at a later date, and if folks are interested. It's a little fiddlier than I want to. Today's video is mostly about trying to achieve something which I think we've done by cleaning these rapid fire buttons and getting the BNC to work again, and mostly work out this new camera rig to see how that behaves. So I will open that. I'll open the stick in another day, is what I'm saying. Now, how on earth? Ah, right, it goes like that, and then it... Ah! Oh, of course I end up with an itchy mustache at the right moment. Okay, that's got it. That's got it. Plug in main control. And I think the thumb screw just goes in there. And if you had another thumb screw, you could stop that. Mine only came with the one. I don't know if they should come with two or not, but that's back together. Now, what I am going to do is I will go and grab Afterburner 2. Okay. And try and put the Saturn a little off to the side. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a larger workspace. Funny thing is, in 2023, I made great bounds in improving storage and usability of this workbench. But that's the thing, you just find ways to take up the space. In the end, don't we? What I'm happy to report is it looks like, on the stick at least, BNC are behaving as expected. Oh, all right. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to make sure that BNC on the deck work as well. Yep. Okay, well, when Andrew's over next, which should be tomorrow actually, he seems to have fond memories of this. I'll see if he can make sense of it. But at least now, this video can come to a completion because we have done what I set out to do, which was repair the non-functional BNC buttons. And it ultimately came down to, it was actually the rapid fire select that was dirty. Because apparently that's a key part of the button circuitry. And with those being dirty, no B or C signals get through to the other side. That's what it ended up being. Well, folks, I apologize. I was going to say in advance before I edit it, but retroactively, by the time this video is done, I'm still trying to work out this bench space overhead thing. This camera, I was hoping that I could use its HDMI output to monitor what it's seeing and record, but it seems that as soon as you do that, it complains that you can't record video. Okay, I mean, it was only $180 camera. Learning. Oh, folks, yeah, that's it. And not really sure how to sign off, so I'll just say see ya. Catch you next video.